Time to ask a former NFL coach if the 49ers stand a chance in Seattle this Saturday. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Walsh's Playbook. That's former Raiders offensive coordinator Tom Walsh. I'm Grant Cohn. The Niners play in 2 days. They practice in about an hour. Kyle Shanahan talks in about 2 hours, so we'll learn a little bit more about the injuries and stuff. But we need to talk to Tom and find out whether the Niners have a chance. They just got they didn't really, well, they lost by 10, but it was kind of blown out, but dominated. We're going to use the word dominated by the Seahawks 2 weeks ago. Something's got to change this time, so we'll ask Tom what that is, what it could be. But first, let's go back. We haven't spoken publicly since the Niners beat the Eagles. You picked the Niners. No, you picked the Eagles. I eventually picked the Niners. Were you surprised? Like, what were your takeaways of this upset over Philly?
Well, first of all, I thought Kyle did a great job of handling things offensively. Some really good play selection that got some big gainers. And then the other thing is, Philadelphia just laid a total egg offensively. They at one point went 3 and out, 3 consecutive series. They had 10 plays and they gained 4 yards. Or some ridiculous number. Then they also got hit with a couple of penalties and situations that pushed them behind the chains. And all of a sudden, 1st and 10 goes to 1st and 20 rather than the 2nd 3 or 4 when you get called for the penalty. And I just thought that I was impressed with the defense. I tell you what, let me say this. I thought that those, I don't want to call them replacement linebackers, but Kendricks and those guys played far beyond the normal expectations that one would have for them coming in as late as they have. Although Kendricks does have a lot of experience playing in the NFL, but those guys played better than some of the guys the Niners were playing with earlier in the season. I hate to say it, and I think that gave them some new life because those guys had energy, they had enthusiasm, they were making plays.
Yeah, I think they were probably an upgrade over Tatum Bethune and D. Winters. And I don't know if you've heard, but the big story this week is that Fred Warner is trying to come back miraculously from this injury so quickly. And it's a great story and it's great for his legacy. But I wonder if he's better than Eric Kendricks right now or better than Garrett Wallow right now. I mean, those two guys are kind of in the zone. It's interesting.
Well, the other thing is they're excited. They're energized. They probably have the enthusiasm that they have is carrying over to the rest of the defensive unit. And the defense has got to be excited because these guys are making plays. And they did a very good job gang tackling. You saw a lot of helmets on the ball carriers. You didn't see guys just reaching out and grabbing. You saw guys actually making contact and wrapping up. And it even made some of the other Niners better defensive players as well. And I was more impressed with a couple of the the corners and the secondary players with some of the efforts that they made tackling at or behind the line of scrimmage. And I thought that was very positive for a change.
I mean, Wallow's interesting because he's 26 and he hasn't really done anything in the league. And now he's like sort of asserting himself as a potential player. Kendricks is interesting because he has done a lot in the league. I mean, he's older, but in his prime, he was considered one of the best linebackers. He played, I think, 17 games for Dallas last year, had more than 130 tackles, and then he took the year off because he had some injuries. He wanted the right situation, and then they pull him off the street, and you think, wow, what's Eric Kendricks going to give you? But he looks like Eric Kendricks. I mean, he wasn't just making plays, but it seemed like he was the brains of the defense. He was communicating really well. He was a real asset.
Well, his experience showed, and I think that probably also had a calming effect on the rest of the players. And so when you bring in a vet like that, who's been through the ropes a few times and understands what it's all about, and he maintains that calmness and keeps everybody organized and structured, that is a positive factor for the defense.
When you picked the Eagles to win, you laid out your thinking, and it was I was right there with you. You said, sure, this offense has been awful, but they haven't been running Jalen Hurts, and they're going to do it in this playoff game. And it made perfect sense. Like, why wouldn't you? He's been running for like 20 yards a game. That should be more like 50, 60, 70. He ran for 15 yards, and then the offensive coordinator got fired. That can't happen ever again in Philly. If that's their run.
Well, the thing that bothered me the most about that, Grant, is that it did not occur until the third quarter before they called a quarterback design run for Hurts. And I'm thinking, why are you waiting so long? You've made your offense one-dimensional in the run game. You're not utilizing Hurts. You're not taking advantage of new players on the Niners defense to understand how adept are they at responsibility, who has the quarterback, they didn't challenge the Niners to test how viable those replacement backers were going to be in critical situations. And I thought that was a major mistake.
I mean, Purdy ran for more yards than Jalen Hurts. I really thought that the Eagles let the Niners off the hook and got what they deserved. I mean, that's how they've been playing all year. I have a friend who used to work out here who's now back in Philly, who covers, them for a TV station. And I was talking to him at halftime. I was like, what are they doing? They're acting like they have a 20-point lead. They're up 3. He's like, they've been doing this all year, man. I don't know what to tell you. And then they lost.
Yeah. The thing about it is their passing game also is marginally acceptable, predicated upon the kind of talent that they have at receivers and at tight end. They should have a much more explosive pass offense. And then, of course, now, what did they drop? 4 third down passes, which could have been first downs. So, A.J. Brown butchered a couple of balls. And but they had opportunities, so they have to only point the finger at themselves for not being successful winning that ball game last Sunday at home.
I want to ask you some NFL at large questions. This should interest Niner fans because Robert Salah is in the coaching carousel. There's 8 openings. The Giants hired John Harbaugh this morning. There's a few more openings since we talked last. What do you think? Who do you think Pittsburgh might be targeting?
You look at the Steelers now, their history has been Chuck Noll, defensive coordinator for Sid Gilman back in the old days with the LA Chargers, the San Diego Chargers, then a successful NFL coach, defensive guy. Cowher, defensive guy. Tomlin, defensive guy. So, predicated upon that string, when they go to hire their 4th head coach in 57 years, I would look for someone like Chris Shula, Don's grandson, young, because Pittsburgh has always hired a head coach in his young 30s, 32, 33 years of age. Tomlin just stepped down and he's 53. He was there 19 years. So he got the head job when he was 32. Chuck Noll was young. Cowher was young. Shula's young. And the Steelers have a history of staying with a guy for an extended period of time. And so I would look for someone like Shula, who has the pedigree plus the age factor, where the Rooney family is going to look at him as their answer. And then, obviously, Chris would have to bring in an offensive coordinator. And then the big question for Pittsburgh now is, what do they do for quarterback? It's not Mason Rudolph. That is not the answer. So,
Chris Shula. That's a good one. I haven't heard that one associated with the Steelers yet. That makes perfect sense. I don't think it'll be Robert Saleh. To your point, they're always hiring someone who's like 32, 33 and hasn't been a head coach yet. Chuck Noll wasn't on his second team. Cowher wasn't on his second team. Okay, I like that one. What about Baltimore?
Bisciotti's a weird duck. I know they need to fix their defense.
Yep.
So I can see them going after Minter down in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Would probably be their first bet. And then they will bring in somebody offensively who can work with Lamar Jackson. You know, they got to redo his contract. He'll probably end up with another average around $60 million, counting new money and all that kind of stuff. He's his own agent. So that's kind of messed things up previously with the negotiating. And so I would look for them to hire a defensive head coach and then bring in a coordinator who can work with the. Now, here's the other thing. Lamar Jackson's legs are not as good as they were 2, 3, 4 years ago. He's had hamstring injuries and all that. So he's at that point in his career like a Michael Vick, where your legs start to go. Randall Cunningham was the same way with the Eagles in the old days. And then those guys eventually begin to master more of the intricacies about making correct reads and progressions in the passing game. And their passing skills actually improve a little bit as they get older because they know they have to focus on them more than they did.
Yeah, Michael Vick's best years were with Andy Reid, not when he was young.
Correct. And they became better at playing quarterback rather than playing athlete. And see, that's the big difference. So I could see someone like Kingsbury, who's been used to the spread packages and athletic quarterbacks, also in Arizona as well as in Washington with the Commanders. I could see him, if he doesn't get a head job, which I don't think he will, could be an offensive coordinator with Lamar Jackson.
That makes sense. Okay. How about Tennessee? They got a quarterback.
They do. They are next to the Raiders. They were like, the most chaotic. Of course, the Jets and the Giants were givens last year for scrambling franchises. But I still think the former Cleveland head coach Stefanski could show up down in Tennessee. Offensive guy.
Yeah.
He's got some defensive coordinators in his history. Jim Schwartz is fabulous. I don't think Jim will get the Cleveland job as a head coach.
Who do you think will?
And, Haslam, the owner, the Pilot Flying J guy, talk about, people talk about different organizations and they use the term dysfunctional. That's Haslam. That's Cleveland. You look at the contract they gave to Deshaun Watson, and they have wiped out the franchise for 4 or 5 years with that deal. And Haslam still says that they're not a dysfunctional organization. And he won't even admit that they butchered that guaranteed contract. And, he's one of those kind of guys where you're not too excited about working for the guy.
Yeah. And as long as that contract's on the books, what are the expectations? I mean, you're probably not going to win and you're going to be held responsible. And then when the contract does come off the books, maybe they fire you and get someone else.
Well, the other thing, think of all the dead money that you have because you're not getting Deshaun Watson on the field. So that is basically a wasted contract that's eating up your salary cap. That's not allowing you to go out and find more talent and more players for you, either offensively or defensively. And, the guy's over on the sideline eating sunflower seeds and drinking a soda and collecting a check for what, $56, $58 million a year.
Yeah. So some poor soul is going to end up with this job. What about Arizona?
Oh, the big question I have with Arizona is what are they going to do at quarterback? Kyler Murray has his expiration date.
It's over with. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's over with.
It's over. So now they've got to figure out how they're going to resolve that. Where are they going to go with that?
So you got no quarterback. It's the toughest division in football. And the owners are kind of cheap.
Oh, the Bidwells they've always been cheap. that's been their history. You go back to the Gene Stallings days and all of those. I mean, they have been they're rubbing two nickels together and trying to make them a dime. And so I don't know that question. They got to answer that. I could see them going with an offensive guy and going out in free agency and trying to bring in a quarterback. The other thing that's going to really put a crimp in a lot of people this year with the draft and with the quarterback, the scarcity of quarterbacks coming out in this year's draft.
Everyone's staying in school.
Well, you know why? When you're making
you can make more money.
Yeah, when you're making $6 million to play 11, 12, or 13 ball games, and
be the king of the campus. Absolutely. You think the Raiders get Flores?
I know he's buddies with this guy Brady, but that is not a 1 or 2 year fix to be the head coach in that organization. Mm-mm. So I'd say I want a 5-year guaranteed contract where
maybe 6.
Forget the 2-year deal, forget the 3-year deal. I want 5 because this is going to take a good 3 before I get to 500, let alone get a chance to even think about the playoffs, especially being in the AFC West. So I don't know if he would want to take on that
such a project.
And as his, when, there are other opportunities in the league, I still look at the Atlanta Falcons as the best place for Salah, but, I don't know. I can't see Salah going to Arizona.
No, but Atlanta's, I like it. I mean, you don't have a quarterback, but you do have a very talented roster in the worst division in football. And maybe you feel like you could get Mac Jones or you could maybe just stick with Kirk Cousins. I mean, really? Yeah, Kirk Cousins isn't terrible.
Not only that, you still got Penix, and you hope that you can get him rehab physically.
Right.
He's been a wounded warrior since he was in college and even back in high school with ACLs and everything. So the guy has never been, quote unquote, healthy other than that one season at Washington in college when he had that breakout year. But every other year since then, and even prior to that, he's always been injured and surgically on the mend.
All right, before we get to the Niners, I want to ask you just one more NFL thing. The 3 other divisional games. Let's start with Rams-Bears. What are you expecting from that one?
Oh, I tell you, I look at the success Stafford has had at quarterback since they've gone to 13 personnel. His percentage and his productivity has gone through the roof, and that has made his play action game phenomenal. Defenses have got to respond to the run with the 13 personnel, so your play action game just goes through the roof. The Rams have some good lesser name tight ends who are producing for them. Of course, they've got that Nakua guy who is lighting it up regardless. The guy has a phenomenal game. How many people looked at him as a 5th-round draft pick and thought he would have this kind of impact? I see the Rams winning. They could score 35 points against the Bears.
Yeah. The Niners scored 40-something.
Yeah. And so, even in, questionable weather conditions in Chicago where it's going to be colder than heck, and I still think that the Rams are going to win that ball game.
Yeah. Now, Chicago's going to run the ball, but I don't know that Caleb Williams can go throw for throw with Matthew Stafford.
No, and the other thing about it is they will not be able to wait to the 4th quarter like they did against Green Bay to come to life.
Yep.
If they are down that significantly against the Rams, there's no way they're going to put 25 points on the board in the final
unanswered
ball game.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Ain't gonna
happen. Let's go AFC. What about Houston and New England?
Oh, it's at New England. But the thing about it is you got Drake May, young quarterback. Vrabel's doing a good job defensively, but I don't see Houston's defense not shutting down Drake May and Josh McDaniels. And so I see Houston actually winning that ball game up in Foxborough because, New England will be lucky to score 13 points, I think.
Yeah.
And Houston, I'm not a CJ Stroud fan, and they're going to be missing Nico. He's still got the concussion symptoms going on. They're down. Their backup receivers are stepping up a little bit.
Yeah.
Their running game's not bad, but I just don't see. This is one of those games where it could be 16-13. It could be 17-12. This will be a low-scoring ball game.
Okay, last one: Buffalo and Denver.
Well, I think Josh Allen is not going to allow the Bills not to win the ball game.
Yeah. He'll will them like he did at the goal line. Yeah.
He has that tenacity, that ability, that character that he can carry that ball club on his back.
Like physically, not just metaphorically. Yeah.
And he has that ability, seriously.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, Denver can run the ball a little bit. I look at the passes Bo Nix throws and the passes Bo Nix completes, and he's still eons away from being a prolific passer. I mean, I'd see a lot of balls he throws. He's digging up worms for fishing. I mean, he's throwing a lot of carpet burners. And guys are open, and he's bouncing them. It's like perfume in the wind. When he throws the ball, who knows where it's going to go? It's like, blowing in the wind.
Interesting.
And the one critical thing, he'll go through a ball game, and he may have 12 completions for 104 yards. So
jeez.
I see Buffalo winning that ball game.
So look, Niner fans, Tom is picking the road team between the Rams and the Bears. He's picking the Rams as the road team, the Texans as the road team, and the Bills as the road team. The Niners are the fourth road team. We will find out soon what Tom thinks, but first, want to shout out this week's sponsor, AG1. I'm now taking this every day, first thing before I have my cup of coffee. I feel a lot better. They gave me all kind of different flavors. I've been going with citrus, but there's also berry. There's also tropical, which is nice. And just remember, there's no right time for better health. There's just now. AG1 is the easiest and most impactful habit you can implement this year. Sustainable health is about consistency, not perfection. Simplify your nutrition with AG1, multivitamin, pre- and probiotics, superfoods, and antioxidants in one scoop. AG1 is the opposite of complexity. 20 seconds, one scoop, 8 ounces of water, done. Drink it first thing before coffee, before checking your phone. It'll become a micro habit that anchors everything else. It has more than 50,000 verified 5-star reviews and comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Go to drinkag1.com/Cohn to get their best offer. For a limited time only, get a free AG1 duffel bag and free AG1 welcome kit with your first subscription. Only while supplies last. That's drinkag1.com/Cohn. drinkag1.com/Cohn. All right, it's time to help the 49ers beat the Seattle Seahawks. They couldn't do it last time. They did it week 1. Both times, and Robert Salah held the Seahawks offense to 13 points, but this last time, the Seahawks had the ball most of the game. They missed 2 field goals. They bungled a possession at the 1-yard line. It could have been worse. What does Robert Salah need to do differently?
Well, are you providing him with this AG1 so he could hydrate the defensive players, starting Friday and then have another dose of it for Saturday for the ball game? I tell you what now, let me say this. Look at it, Sam Darnold. Okay, let's take, Sam, because he's the one guy on the Seattle offense who could be the Jekyll and Hyde kind of quarterback. They had 15 days off now?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that good or bad for him?
For Sam, That may not be too good.
It's interesting. Yeah. Now he can overthink it.
Correct. He's had too much
Mm-hmm.
time and too much this, too much that. So he's created this, and he has flashbacks to last year in Minnesota when he laid an
Yep.
egg. But the thing about it is, and I was looking at the stats. I don't know. I'm sure Robert has guys who feed him also the same information. When Darnold's pressured,
Mm-hmm.
okay, he is a 52% passer. His
Ooh.
quarterback rating is like 72. Okay.
Ooh.
Now,
Okay.
when you don't, and he has like 10 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
Okay.
When you pressure Sam Darnold, his stats go down. When you let
Yeah.
him have a clean pocket, you don't pressure him, you let him have a 4-man rush and have all day back there. He's throwing at 75% completion. His quarterback rating is 110 as opposed to 72.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His completion percentage is 75 as opposed to 52.
Mm-hmm.
His touchdowns with no pressure, 15 and only 6 picks. So
Yep.
if you allow him to be the rocking chair quarterback, to sit there back there in his lazy boy and just pick you apart,
He
he's
can do
got
it.
enough weapons where he can make those throws.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, statistically, he doesn't perform well when you put pressure on him. So the hardest thing for me looking at this is like, okay, I know the stats. I've got him weighed up like, okay, pressure, he's down. Free access to throw, he's up. So what do I want to do? I want to make it uncomfortable for him. I want to be able to put some pressure on him. I want to be able to, see if he'll spit it up and throw me a couple picks, and or get sack, fumble, strip kind of concept and turn over the ball.
Yeah, they've played him twice this year, and this guy has like an interception problem, and yet he has thrown no picks against the 49ers, and I'd have to say that's probably a byproduct of Robert Saleh's play calling. Man, if you don't put any pressure on him and you just play zone coverage, what do you expect to happen? You gotta put bodies around him and bring out the bad Sam Darnold.
Correct. And the thing about it also now, you've got 2 new linebackers playing for the Niners who were not there the last ball game. I think there's going to be a little bit of a vitality with the way that those guys are going to play. You got the savvy and the experience of Kendricks. That'll be an improvement. Their tackling was better last week than it was against Seattle with the other players in the season ender. And I think the thing about it is the Niners will have learned more about themselves and about the Seahawks from that season-ending loss than what Seattle has learned about the Niners with their season-ending win. So I think from that perspective, that's a win for the Niners. They will have learned more from that loss than what Seattle will have learned from the win.
I asked Salah yesterday, like, what are you going to do differently? I mean, you only gave up 13 points, but they had the ball the whole game, and they ran for like 180 yards. So what adjustments do you think you need to make? And he didn't talk about the run game. He went straight to third down. He was like, we were awful on third down. We got to be better on third down. And I mean, yeah, obviously, but like, what does that entail? Does that just mean you want your guys to execute better from zone coverage, or are you going to actually call some more aggressive things on 3rd and 3? Because there were some conversions where it was like Eric Sobert catches a 7-yard pass and there's no one around him. It's like, you just give him the first down if that's what you're going to do. I'd like to see him be more aggressive on third down.
And so he didn't tell you? He didn't give you a hint? You couldn't read his expression at all to see if he was...
If he said he wants to be better on third down, I would imagine that involves not giving backup tight ends free releases in the secondary and actually manning up and taking away the slants and the quick stuff. Like that's maybe he is trying to confuse the Seahawks, but that would seem to be the answer.
Well, the bottom line is I go back to that 3-play sequence that they had. 3rd and 17, they gave up a 19-yard gain on a toss play to the offensive right, the Niners left side. The next play gained, 17 yards. The next play after that gained 12 yards. So they had 3 consecutive first downs on 3 snaps. And, that was that was game over.
Yeah.
John Lynch was having a heart attack up in the press box on
Yeah.
3rd and 19 or 3rd and 17 when they gave up a 19-yard gain, and they missed a lot of tackles. There were probably 4 or 5 missed tackles on that one run alone. And so I think the Niners will be better at linebacker. The thing about it also and Philadelphia didn't throw very many screens.
Right, they didn't.
You and I have discussed this periodically throughout the season. I was never a fan of how D. Winters reacted on screens. He waited till the guard was out there, the tackle was out there, the backer released, and hell, he's still 12 or 13 yards deep on his drop. Whereas Fred Warner, when he saw the lineman pulling, saw the back flyer, and bam, Fred hit it and split the offensive lineman and would nail the screen back for negligible yardage. And so hopefully Kendricks and Wallow will respond better to the screen action, because that has been a staple in the first series of every Seattle offensive game plan.
Yep.
And
I mean, outside of JSN,
they play action, roll away, and screen back. And they do it from their offensive right, throw the screen back to their left side.
Got it.
And that's been a staple in the first 8 to 10 plays of every ball game Seattle has played.
Let me ask you one more thing before we help Kyle. So we're talking about being more aggressive, getting pressure on Sam Darnold, and stopping screens. One thing they couldn't do at all in this last game, they did it in week 1, but they couldn't do it in week 18, was stop the run. Now, 2 new linebackers. At the same time, in week 18, you saw it, like the 2 safeties were 15 yards off the ball most snaps. Do you feel like the presence of Kendricks and Wallow and potentially Warner will be the difference in the run game, or do you think Salah needs to do something schematic? Do you think he needs to get that 8th man in the box?
Well, you're still going to need 8 in the box. The bottom line is, I think, especially with Kendricks, he would be better at taking on blockers and shedding blocks. And hopefully his ability to diagnose and the experience that he's had as a player in 7-8 years will help him with a little bit better with recognition than what the Niners were getting previously. The thing about it is also you got to look at the 4 linemen up front, and they've got to be able to take on the offensive blocker. And the one thing I noticed by a couple of the younger kids, especially in the defensive tackle position, they struggle to shed a blocker. They don't use their hands well. They don't lock out. They don't create separation. They've got that offensive lineman on them like Velcro, and they can't get off. And so they've got to be able to be stronger at basically pressing the offensive lineman away from them, getting their leverage and getting their length back in their arms to be able to drop step and play crossface and be able to free themselves up to be a tackler and a space eater and not just get walled off and turned and then it's down the 280 freeway because it's wide open.
Well, look, I know Robert Saleh's busy this week preparing for all kind of different interviews, but Robert, we just gave you the answers to the test. There's no excuses. You're prepared now. That's
another worry I have. Let me say this,
isn't it? Yeah.
Have you interviewing for head coaching positions on Thursday during game week, and you're playing Saturday? I'm like, that is a killer.
It was interesting. Yesterday he was asked about it, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not doing it until Sunday after the game." But then after that, we were sort of informed by some people in the PR staff, like, hey, he may have misspoke and there could be a report that he did something on Friday. Just keep it in mind. So because when these guys do the interview, immediately Adam Schefter has the report right after, like, the Arizona Cardinals have just finished an interview. So watch out for that tomorrow with Robert Saleh. I wouldn't be surprised if he knocks 1 or 2 out before the game, which isn't really what you want. It's not great.
No, even if you have your agent and his office put together your depth charts and your free agency and who you're going to list and what your draft picks are and things like that, you as a coach still have your mind on questions and how you're going to respond and what you're going to say. That means you're not thinking about the ball game against Seattle on Saturday.
And it's so easy, like, You gave up 13 in each game, and in this game, if you give up 27, everyone's going to be like, well, Robert, what were you doing this week? So that's a lot of pressure for him. A lot of pressure for Kyle Shanahan, too, considering his offense scored a grand total of 3 points, and nothing worked. The run game didn't work. They couldn't get anything going. Christian couldn't get anything going as a receiver or runner. They had George Kittle in that game. Now he's out. Trent Williams coming back. It seems like Ricky Pearsall is going to make an attempt to come back as well, although the first tackle he takes, you wonder if he can stay in the game. What would you say for Kyle here? Or is there anything he can do?
Well, he is going to be taxed mentally to find a way to attack the combinations that the Seahawks play in the secondary and against the pass. And then the other thing is, people don't realize how good Seattle is in the front four defensively. They got, Leonard Williams and a couple other guys.
Yes.
They are very stout in the defensive line. They don't need to play 8 in the box to shut down the Niners' run game. See,
nope, and they don't need to play a base defense either. They play like their nickel and dime defense, and they just shut it down.
They got 4 studs up front.
Yeah,
they got a guy who can control the center and both guards. And see, and that's the biggest issue. So he's going to have to try to be able to manufacture runs. McCaffrey is going to struggle to even average 3.2, 3.3 yards a carry. If he can get to the line of scrimmage without getting hit in the backfield, that's a win right there.
That's a win. Yeah.
Seriously. It's like watching, back in the old days, Detroit had this running back, Barry Sanders, who led
I remember him vaguely.
Yeah. He led the league in making players miss tackles of him behind the line of scrimmage. That's what McCaffrey's like now. How many guys does he have to make miss before he even gets to the line of scrimmage?
It's true.
And see, that's tough.
It's true. Yeah, it's tough. This seems like the kind of game plan where, remember week 5, they were going into LA, Thursday night game, and it was like they were 10.5-point underdogs. No Brock, no Kittle, no Bosa, and they won in overtime. Mac Jones, they had no running game. They couldn't run the ball. They stuck with it a little bit, but Mac Jones threw 49 passes, and most of them were real short. And it's exactly what they needed to do because they couldn't run the ball and they couldn't protect, and they were going up against a great pass rush, and it worked. It seems like that's kind of the approach you got to take. They're going to make you be patient. They're not. You're not, and unless Ricky Pearsall's playing great and he can beat Reek Woolen down the field like he did week 1, you're not going to get big plays. So just take the check down over and over and over again. And it worked in week 5.
Well, the important thing for them, Kyle's got to understand, the Seahawks are not going to allow you to rip off, 15 and 20-yard, gains multiple times in any series, let alone in the entire ball game. I think last game against Seattle, the biggest gain was that sail route to George Kittle to the offensive right, which gained 15 or 16 yards. That was the biggest play. The other thing is that Kyle needs to realize my offensive line and protection schemes are not going to be able to hold up long enough for me to run my guys vertically down the field to attack Seattle's deep coverage.
Yeah.
So
the pass rush is going to be a lot more intense than it was. Philly had no pass rush. It wasn't there. I don't know what that was.
And see, so
I would imagine Seattle's.
I got to throw the ball short. You know what? You may have McCaffrey catch 9 balls for like 58 or 60 yards, but those are going to be critical. A lot of them are going to get you a first down. They're going to get you from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 4.
Yeah. Same with the fullback. Same with Tonjes. Yeah. Those guys.
Jack Tonjes.
Yeah.
Ironically, how many times did you notice last week after Kittle went down, you saw the Niners utilizing 2 tight ends in the same offensive set? All of a sudden, I'm looking up. I see 89 and I see 88 on the field together. I'm going like, wait a minute. Is this 22 personnel? Is this 12 personnel? All of a sudden, you got 2 tight ends who show up now and Kittle's not there, as opposed to Kittle and Tonjes. Now you got, what's the other kid's name? Farrell? Yeah, and he and Tonjes are on the field at the same time. I'm going like, this is a switch.
So okay. Well, let's look at let's give Kyle Shanahan a play. Let's check out pass reps, which is just hold on, let me get it on the screen for you. It's just $199 a month. It's updated weekly by Tom. And let's go. What is this play? 678 sail flat.
Okay, now this is the same play which Kyle hit to Kittle on the same formation, same right side, with McCaffrey up in the wing so he can chip and help Trenton Williams, for example, in this situation before he releases on his option route. But I'm going to take Tonjes and run him on the sail route. See, when Seattle plays this deep coverage where they're reading combos and 2-to-1, if I run my tight end on the sail route, that safety is going to take a man-to-man. By the same token, I'm going to run my Z on the post route, and that'll take care of the corner. So now I've got two breaking routes away from coverage to where I have opportunities to throw the ball. I may not be able to hold it long enough to throw the post route, but I'll be able to get the ball out and get it to Tonjes on the sail route, and he can adjust it versus man or versus zone what he does. And then I can put use check out there after checking for protection, release him late into the flat so that if you're giving me a cover 2 shell, for example, then I've got a high-low on the corner with the sail route and the flat. And see if that Purdy can drop the ball in over the corner to the tight end on the sail. And, see right there, you can see the fit where you got the high-low right there on the defensive, the defender in the flat. And then the sail is outside the numbers. So if the ball's not complete, it's off the field, and I don't have to worry about throwing the ball into the middle of the field where I have extra defenders. So I can minimize my interception possibilities by throwing the ball outside the numbers to where there are fewer defenders. And that boundary,
I like that.
The boundary to me will be a positive weapon. If it's not open, I can throw it out of bounds. I'm not going to lay it up late and try to get it up and down over a linebacker with a safety behind them.
Yeah, the Niners gotten in trouble when they've been forcing balls over the middle this season.
Stay the heck away from it,
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. Well, there you go, Kyle Shanahan. Check it out. Maybe you should become a subscriber for pass reps yourself. It's only $199 a month. I'm sure Jed York will pay it for you. All right. Let's give me a prediction. Who do you think is going to win this game? I mean, it seems like the Niners are way inferior to the Seahawks, but it's just Sam Darnold, and they don't score a lot of points, at least against the Niners.
I'll tell you what, I know this will shock you, but I see it like a 2017 ball game, and I think the Niners are going to be able to win this one because, like I told you before, they have learned more from the loss against Seattle, how to play the run better, how to have better fits. They've got 2 different linebackers playing. Okay. Yep. You've got a renewed enthusiasm from the corners and the safeties and all that, because now my linebackers are getting better fits. They're making tackles. The running backs don't have free access up into the secondary right off the bat. And so I can see where the Niners, it's going to be a tough ball game. Let me tell you this, it's going to be a field goal difference of a ball game. It'll be 20-17. It'll be 17-13. But I tell you, the Niners
have the better kicker for sure.
Yeah, there's no question. If it comes down to Pinheiro, then you got to put your money, put your dinero on Pinheiro, and he'll win the game for you.
Hell yeah, that's a very interesting prediction, and I'm compelled. And I like your point here. It's like it's almost like if you're facing the team for the 3rd time, and it's hard to beat a team 2 times in a row because when you lose, you're more honest with what you learn, and you have to make adjustments, and you make them. Whereas the winning team's like, well, we should probably just keep doing what worked, right? We'll probably just stay the same, right?
And the other benefit for the Niners is they have 2 different linebackers playing than they did on the 18th game number 18. And see, to me, that's critical. Yeah. Darn well that Kendricks and Waller are going to play out of their minds. They're going to have, they're going to be geared up. They're going to be ready to go. They're healthy. They're excited. These are statement games for those guys.
Well, there you go. We got 2017 Niners, according to Tom Walsh. I love it. Niners, Kess says, if JJ was a high school quarterback and he threw that beautiful pass last week in the NFC Championship game and Purdy and Dobbs got knocked out of the game, why didn't Kyle go to JJ as the quarterback instead of CMC?
Who knows?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I wonder if he could be like the emergency third string quarterback. Anyway, I guess we'll never find out.
You know what? You can make him a wildcat quarterback, and you can run he's strong enough to run the quarterback counter and the quarterback power. But then by the same token, you can go sprint right option, and all of a sudden you got him throwing the ball, or he could keep it and have a run pass read off of it, and a triple option scheme with him as your wildcat quarterback.
It'd be a fun thing to have in your back pocket. Why not? Especially if you're going to call passes for him anyway. All right. Let's get Tom back on the screen, and let's get my phone on the screen so we can make division round prize picks. Okay. Starting with Brock Purdy, 227.5 passing yards. Last time against Seattle, he went for 127. What do you think? More or fewer? 227.
It needs to be more, but I say it'll be fewer. I'll say he'll be like 193, 195.
That seems reasonable. About Darnold, 237.5.
The whole thing is going to boil down to what kind of defensive scheme Salah's going to play. If I'm going to play vanilla zone and let them catch the ball and make the tackle and all that kind of jazz, he'll throw for 285. But if I want to put some pressure on some people and do some combo coverages and take away, Jackson Smith-Njigba and play a high-low on him and man under and trail him, I could see this. I'll say I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say fewer.
I like that. That makes sense to me. Why don't we go rushing? How about Zach Charbonnet, who went for 90 plus? Now you got Kendricks and Wallow, and the line is 46.5, more or fewer for Charbonnet.
I'll say fewer for Charbonnet.
But Kenneth Walker, 58.5.
I'll say more for Kenneth Walker.
You love Kenneth Walker. He's really good.
He's tough. He's physical. Charbonnet is more like McCaffrey. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can play in space. I can split him out. Walker, he's more like he's a tougher nut between the tackles. He's more physical. He'll butt you up and drag you down the field for more yards after contact.
How about receiving yards? Jake Tonjes, 34.5, more or fewer.
If they want to win, if Kyle wants to win, Tonjes needs to have more than 34 yards. I'll say more.
I like that. That's a good call. I like that very much. How about Jackson Smith-Njigba, 93.5?
The bad thing about it is if you give him free access, his run after the catch ability, he can have 2 catches and have 100 yards because he can run after the catch. And if you play him soft and give him space after the catch, and he has a chance to get turned and get his shoulders going toward the goal line, you're in trouble. I will say he will have more because they will go to him more, and which means you'll have less completions to other receivers on the Seattle offense.
All right, here's Tom's prize picks. As everyone knows, he's the Hall of Fame prize picker on this channel. Check him out. We're gonna flex it just to be careful. Even though it's Tom, we're gonna submit it. Download prize picks yourself. Play $5, get 50 instantly in lineups when you use promo code COHN. If you're just tuning in, Tom picked Niners to win 20-17. I don't take that lightly. Tom knows what he's doing.
What are you doing?
Very interesting.
You got to make your pick.
I got 48 hours. Let me think about it. I got to go to Seattle and feel what's going on up there before I can decide. I didn't expect you to pick the Niners, though. That's very interesting. Very interesting. And you made a great point. The fact that they lost the last one, they're going to be the ones who learned more from that game. And I feel like you see that in the NFL a lot. A lot of times it's the team who lost most recently in the matchup is the one that makes the more meaningful adjustments.
Well, they know they have to. They know that
Yeah.
something did not work the first time. So therefore, I've got
Yep.
to fix what did not work. And then plus
Yep.
the other thing as well, I told you before, I got two different inside linebackers playing
It's huge.
than who played previously. And actually, Kendricks, if you have to look at it, you hate to say it, he could be better than Dean Winters, and he could be better than
Tatum Bethune.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I got to run out to practice and see what Ricky Pearsall can do. Tom, thank you very much. If you're right, we'll be doing this again next week, talking about the Rams. And if not, we'll be talking about what went wrong. So, Tom, thank you very much. I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay. Have a good trip to Seattle.
Partridge Mike, thanks for becoming a new member. Next time I see you guys, I'll be